Welcome back, guys. Happy Wednesday or whatever day you're listening to this on.
Yeah, probably listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome. We're in a new space today.
Yeah, it's wild. We're in our office.
Yeah, we've kind of been talking about doing this in this space since we talked about starting the podcast, but
We haven't had chairs.
yeah, we've been waiting for these chairs to be done for 8 months now?
Yeah, we're sitting in these chairs that I got them from my mom, who got them from my grandma. So these chairs,
They're 50 something years old.
yeah, we can never
Roughly.
get rid of them because they're like a family heirloom at this point, it feels like.
Honestly, yeah.
But they're so cool. They're like a mid-century modern vibe. And they weren't really the vibe back when they were my mom's because the cushions were kind of weird. They didn't fit right. And at this point, the wood, they've been sitting kind of by a window for so long that the sun sort of bleached the stain. So we started sanding them. Then we got new cushions made. And we haven't yet finished sanding them. So we still need to finish sanding and then staining them. But at least we can sit in them for now. So
Yeah. And they don't look bad in our office now, which is like they don't look optimal for sure because, one of them is sanded, one of them isn't. So that's a little tough. But overall, it's better than they were because the old cushions were just weird. So
yeah.
we've just talked about kind of this office and what we want for it for 9 months and never really been able to get it done. So it feels nice to have some part of it looking aesthetic.
Yeah.
For once.
It's definitely not as aesthetic as I want it to be, but it's getting there.
Yeah, me neither, but
we have plans for this room, so
it gives me hope for this room. I'll say that.
Yeah, for sure. Coming together slowly but surely. Anyway, give us a life update. What's been going on since the last time we talked? You and I have talked. We talk all the time,
Obviously.
But to our listeners.
Well, I would say a fun thing is that yesterday for us was our 2-year anniversary.
True.
Not
our
married.
wedding anniversary. I feel like that's confusing for people because I don't think everybody celebrates their dating anniversary after they get married, but
Yeah.
I like to make a celebration out of everything, so we celebrate it.
Yeah, it's fun to have something to look forward to at different points of the year. So I like it.
Yeah, it was fun. We went to a fancier restaurant in Nashville called Audrey.
And it slapped.
It slapped. It was really good.
It was so good.
The whole
dessert
experience.
Was insane.
The dessert was amazing. The upstairs bar was so fun.
Yeah.
It was just a really cool experience. It was definitely expensive, but it was worth it for how good the food was, how good the service was, and just the overall ambiance.
Yeah, for sure. It was one of that I wouldn't be you should drop everything and go to Audrey until you have a fancy thing. It's not somewhere you just go with friends, probably.
I saw some people there with friends yesterday. They were
Yeah.
celebrating a birthday. If you like to be bougie with your friends, then that could be a fun girls' night or whatever.
It was perfect for the occasion.
Yeah, exactly.
We got all dressed up. We drank good drinks, ate good food, went to the immersive Nutcracker.
Oh yeah, we did that too. We did that beforehand.
Which...
It was more for little kids, for sure.
Yeah. And I think this was our second immersive exhibit that we've done, and I kind of am getting that from them.
It's just like a movie projected on a screen. I just thought that it would be more interactive, when you step on the floor, something will move, or I don't know.
Yeah, I expected it to be more like projection mapping and not just 360-degree projections.
Right.
Maybe it's because we got spoiled at Meow Wolf in Denver, and that projection mapping room was so cool and so fun that we kind of expected that and hoped for that at King Tut and then now at Nutcracker, and it's just kind of a movie. The other thing that gets me is it's not a 360-degree movie. it's like,
Right. It's like they duplicate it.
yeah, it's like 90 degrees maybe, and then they just repeat it.
Yeah.
And there's like hidden cuts, but it's like, it's not a 360 degree thing. And it's not terribly cheap to do either. So
Yeah,
it's like,
a little expensive for what it is, which is, I don't know. I honestly, if you're in Nashville, I wouldn't really recommend it unless you have like small kids.
Yeah.
Because the kids loved it. They were going nuts because
Exactly.
I mean, it's a really big room. So like imagine being 2 feet tall and seeing
so
all that
true.
around you. They're like, oh my gosh. But
Right.
we just kind of
And-
sat there watching the cute kids run around.
Yeah, and especially like yesterday, it's little girls who are in ballet or watching the Barbie Nutcracker. You know, like they're very excited about it. And we, on the other hand, are like, what is the story of the Nutcracker? Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
kind of-
honestly, I thought of it yesterday. I literally don't really know the story of the Nutcracker. We need to
Yeah.
go see the actual ballet, like you said yesterday, because I think that would be really fun.
yeah, I think it'd be really cool. And I haven't seen a ballet since I was a kid.
Ballet is insane. I don't think I've ever seen a ballet.
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever seen like a proper professional ballet.
Yeah, I am just shocked at ballerinas. They're insane.
Yeah, they're crazy strong. So, yeah, that was our day yesterday. I don't know if we have any like proper life updates.
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I had a kidney stone this week.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you totally did.
And I got Botox. I don't think I talked about it since when I said that I had to cancel my appointment. I actually did get to go back
That's true.
and get Botox like the very next day.
Yeah.
So in case you guys were wondering, I can't really move my forehead that much and it's kind of cool.
It is pretty entertaining. And
Yeah.
it's funny for me too, because throughout the week I've seen you like making weird faces, and then you'll be like,
I'm like testing it
I
out.
can't make an angry face, and it's just like random shit like that, which is pretty funny. So
I almost passed out getting it because apparently I'm afraid of needles now. I don't really know why that started happening, but in the last year I just get so queasy about needles. So
yeah,
I'm going to keep going though because I really like it.
yeah.
Anyway,
That's
back to my
understandable.
kidney stone.
Yeah, we just kind of glossed over that. But
Yeah.
everybody is like amazed that you passed a kidney stone.
Which is really funny. Passing a kidney stone sucks because I've had one other kidney stone before the one that I had this week. And that one had me in the ER. I thought I was dying. It was horrible.
Yeah, that
it was
was a
also
tough
my
one.
first kidney stone. So at first I didn't know what the pain was. And that I feel like that kind of elevated it a little bit because
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening to me?
Right. The fear was definitely worse on that
Yeah.
one. Whereas this one, you sent me a text and were like, I might have a kidney stone, but I'm not like stressed about it.
I felt it come up immediately. And I was like, that could be a kidney stone. So that kind of sucked. It was the day that I was going to this really fun work retreat that we had been like getting excited about all week. It was going to be like a fun couple days with like the girls and like going
Yeah.
out, dressing up, doing fun stuff together.
It was
And literally,
real unfortunate timing, I'll say.
yeah, as soon as I parked where I was going to meet them
Naturally.
there, I felt the pain. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And so I just sat in my car for a minute and I was like, okay, I can't just leave. Like, I literally just pulled up to meet everybody here. Like, I can't just leave as soon as I pull in. So I texted one of the girls and I was like, hey, just want to let you know, I very well could be having a kidney stone right now, but I'm not sure. So I'm just going to try to push through for now. But if I have to leave, like, just wanted to let somebody know what's going on.
Right.
And everybody was like so nice about it. She was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like, let me know if there's anything I can do, blah, blah, blah. I ended up just asking, like, when I first got there, it was kind of rough. And I was like, I just have like a bad stomach ache and like my back was really hurting. And I was getting kind of nervous because I was like, this got really bad last time. So like, I hope it doesn't get super bad this time to where I have to like dramatically leave this retreat. But I just
Yeah.
asked a couple of the girls if anybody had Advil. And so somebody gave me Advil. And that honestly helped so much. Like the pain, I didn't feel any pain for like a 6-hour stretch. And then around midnight when we were all getting ready to go to bed, it started slowly like coming back. And I was like, okay, I'll just take more Advil. So I took some more. Unfortunately, it didn't work as well the first time, so I didn't really sleep well that night, but it wasn't excruciating to the point where I was like, I can't even lay down. Like, it was uncomfortable, but I was like, I'm just going to try to sleep it off. I'm going to try to just like chill. The next morning, though, I woke up and I was like, I need to go home, I think, because I was just like getting nervous about the day ahead and I was still in pain. And I was like, I don't really want to risk it.
Right.
If it's going to be bad and we just have a lot to do, yada, yada. So Ty
you're
comes
like away from home. Like you're
right. I wasn't at home. It was basically like a big sleepover for 2 days. And so we were
like
at this
45
Airbnb.
minutes from where we live.
Yeah.
So it's just like...
It was just kind of inconvenient all around. And I was so bummed about it because I was having so much fun. Like we had such a fun night the night before and I didn't want to leave because I had such FOMO. But
and you really enjoy your coworkers.
Yeah.
Like anyways.
Yeah.
So
we had so much fun.
Having to leave a very fun thing is not.
Yeah. So...
especially for something as lame as a kidney stone.
Yeah, so lame. And like embarrassing. Like what 25-year-old girl has a kidney stone? Twice. Like just bizarre. Anyway.
Nice.
Anyway, Ty came and picked me up at like 7 a.m.
Yep. Yeah, I woke up to a call from you at like 6 a.m. and I was like, it's happening.
ER, here we go, baby. No, but he just came and picked me up and I was like, I think maybe like we'll just go to a walk-in clinic or something like that at some point. Cause like it wasn't so bad that I had to go to the ER, but I was like, I don't really know what to do because what do you do? Like I was trying to chug water and I think that helped a lot because
I think so too.
I didn't do that last time. I was just in so much pain. I couldn't do anything. But this time I was like, I know it's a kidney stone, so I'm sure I need water.
Right.
So did that. But anyway, as soon as we got home, I didn't feel that much pain anymore. I just felt a little bit of discomfort, which if you've ever had a kidney stone, girls, I don't know how it is for guys. I've heard it's way worse, but girls, I think you typically start to feel like UTI symptoms towards the end when it's actually about to pass. And so by the time we got home, I didn't have the stomach ache anymore, but I felt like I had a UTI. And I was like, now I'm just uncomfy. And I was so tired because I hadn't slept. Anyway, we ended up going to just like a Kroger walk-in clinic. And Ty came with me.
They like give you a little paper bag.
Yeah, they gave me like a little paper bag
it.
With the urine sample cup because I told them what was going on. I was like, I'm good. I'm ready to pee in this cup.
And you knew they were going to do that. So you had been like chugging water on the way over.
Yeah. So I go to the bathroom. I pee in the cup, the usual. I twist the lid on it and okay, I wanted to see what the pee looked like. Sorry. So I looked
I'm glad you did.
I wanted to see what like color it was because like, was it bloody? Was it like, too dark? I was dehydrated. Anyway, I look at the cup. There is literally a stone floating in the urine sample cup. And I was like, is that mine?
Did I do that?
So
How'd
like,
that get there?
I literally passed a kidney stone while going to the doctor to see what to do about a potential kidney stone. So I was like, I think this issue just solved itself. Like, because I felt totally fine at that point. Like, no discomfort, no pain. And I was like, all right, I guess that's over.
The best part was you came in and were like, hey, go look at my pee real quick.
Yeah, they let him come in the room with me. And when the nurse lady walked out and it was just the two of us in there, I was like, Ty, go look at that cup.
You gotta look in there. Like,
and he was like, I don't
80%
want to.
sure that was a kidney stone I just peed out. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went and looked. There's zero chance that was not a kidney stone.
Yeah, he just like kind of looked at me and was like, yeah, that was a kidney stone for sure.
And like,
it was kind of big.
It was way bigger than your last one.
It was.
It was
unless
so
it was
much
just
bigger.
magnified like in the cup and we couldn't really I wasn't going to stick my finger in there and like pull it out, but it was wild.
Well, the best part then is that the doctor came in. You tell her like, I'm pretty sure I peed out a kidney stone over there.
Over there.
And she never addressed
She didn't even address it. And she's still like...
She was like, okay.
She finished the whole checkup. And by the end of it, she was like, I'm going to prescribe you some antibiotics just in case there's like a UTI involved. But I think just from what you're telling me, this is a kidney stone. I'm like, I literally just told you
Yeah.
there's a kidney stone in the pee cup.
Yeah. We've had this before. We know what it is.
I
We
didn't
know
wanna-
what it looks like.
I didn't want to draw attention to it again,
Yeah.
though. So I was like, I know that's what that was. So, like, whatever.
And you didn't want to be like that obnoxious patient that's
Be
like,
haha.
I Googled
my
it.
pee."
I've done this before. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was
but
no big deal. But
most definitely that was a kidney stone. And
yeah. And
my
then
girl passed it. Just,
the best part is I got to go back to the retreat that same day. I literally
which was a pretty baller move.
honestly,
not gonna lie.
I made quite a comeback. Everybody was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I feel great now." Like I
Yeah.
literally, while we were at dinner with like the whole group, I looked at my boss and I was like, "Can you believe I had a kidney stone earlier?" And she was like, "I really can't." Like, honestly, how are you here? But
yeah.
yeah, so it was a pretty eventful week for me.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Feeling good now. Staying hydrated.
You haven't had any like further symptoms really.
No.
So
Just gonna kind of keep an eye on it. I think now that I've had a couple, it's like it still sucks, but like I feel prepared if something like that happens again. Like I don't feel like I don't know. I don't feel as scared of it because after the first one, I was like, if
Yeah.
that's how they're all gonna be, I'm terrified.
yeah.
And there was like a good week or two right after my first one where I was just anxious all the time because I was like,
You
I don't
really
know if I'm gonna
were.
have another one, and that hurt so bad. I don't think I could do it again.
I
but-
actually was thinking about this the other day, and I have the same feeling now where I'm like, ooh, I'm glad she had a second one just
was
for that
more
reason
chill.
because it balanced the scales a little bit.
Yeah,
so
there's
you're not
definitely like
like
a range, I guess, for
Yeah.
kidney stones. Like they don't all, I guess, they're not all that bad, and they're not
Yeah.
always going to put you in the hospital. Hopefully, I've heard from a lot of people that they do put you in the hospital a lot, which sucks. But
Yeah. I think at the same time, like previously, your diet made kidney stones worse and you were chronically dehydrated. Like after the first one, you cut out some of those foods that make you more prone to them and you drink way more water. So,
Yeah.
all good things.
all good things. So
Yeah.
cheers to no kidney stones. Should we get into the episode? I don't think we
Yeah.
even told them what we're talking about. But
I don't think so either.
let them have it.
Well, today we kind of just wanted to. It's kind of a mix of things. It's kind of like a follow up to our budget episode in a way, but
Okay.
also kind of like
Like I'm excited to see where this is going.
how we deal with conflict.
Like we've mentioned our family meetings a couple times.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about today. Long story short.
Classic
that was very
Ty.
long-winded, Ty.
Should we start that over?
No,
just
it's
for
okay.
that?
It's okay.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know how normal we are for the fact that we do like a structured family meeting every week.
We're better than everybody, that's for sure, though.
Without a doubt. It's one of those things I had never really heard of it before you and your therapist at the time. I've always thought it's a great thing, but it was definitely like this is weird. How do we do this? And now it's one of my very favorite things that we do as a couple. Just because it's a great reset every single week.
Mm-hmm.
It preps us for our week. It's a good like check-in of where we're at, not only like monetarily, but also emotionally, schedule, like all of these things that we do every week. And I think it's been one of the healthiest and most productive things for us as a couple.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not like we invented the family meeting or that we're like
No.
the only people that do it. Like I've seen a lot of things on TikTok, like relationship tips or whatever. Like I saw a TikTok a week or two ago that was like, here's a tip that will strengthen your relationship. Like once a week, meet, talk about whatever. And it's basically that. Like we set aside time every week. We do it on Sundays to just go over like a few different categories of things. And we just have like a specific format to it. And so we thought we would share it because
It's helped us.
it has
sure.
helped us. And especially like me being someone who I feel like I have a harder time with communication than you do. Maybe.
I might agree with that.
Yeah. And it's not that I don't want it. Like, I think I'm the one that said I wanted to start having these, but it's just harder for me to like really communicate about things
Yeah.
sometimes. And so this, like having a format to stick to makes it a little bit easier and just like a little bit more routine. And, you know,
It
the best
takes-
way to get better at something is to practice it. So
Yeah.
it's not always like fun, but
Yeah. I was going to say it takes some of the pressure off too. It gives you like, well, it gives both of us a safe space to talk about things, bring up pressure points, all those kinds of things in a scenario that we feel safe and like it's the opportune time to communicate those things.
do you want to go into like the categories
Yeah.
that we talk about?
Yeah, we'll give you a quick table of contents. This is just our general flow because it makes sense and it gradually leads into more serious things.
But then you always end on a high note.
Yes. So we do budget first, then our schedule for the week, then we talk about sex, then we talk about
I'm sorry, I'm being so awkward.
everybody has sex.
No, they don't.
You're right, but most people do. And then we talk about things that we didn't do great that week. And then we talk about things we did do great and that we appreciate about each other. And we'll kind of elaborate on all 5 of those, but that's like the rough outline that we do every single week.
Yeah.
You and your therapist had been talking about it before premarital counseling. And then in premarital counseling again, she was like, you should do this every single week and start doing it now.
Yeah.
So we've been doing family meetings for probably since like January of last year, eh?
Yeah, we've been doing them probably for the whole year now. We've probably missed a couple here and
for sure.
there, but for the most part, we try to stick to it. And I think there are some times where we don't talk about certain things but for the most part, we try to cover everything every week. And yeah, that's kind of the format that we stick to. We already talked about budget on a previous episode. So
Which
we're
you should
not,
definitely go back and listen to if you haven't.
yeah,
And
that,
you want to hear about how we budget. Because I think it is insightful. At least like, I mean, the whole point of that episode was like, we don't make a shit ton, but we do a budget. You should too.
yeah, it's basically just going over our process. And if you're curious about the specifics of that, you can go back and listen. But yeah, we usually start out with that because we have to sit down and like fill it out together. So that's usually just what we do to get it out of the way first.
It also
then-
typically takes the longest.
It does.
So it's kind of nice to get that one out of the way. And it's like an ease into the meeting where like we're not talking a ton, but we're working on something together.
Yeah. And once we kind of finish filling it out, we're like, okay, how are we feeling? What are some things we could do differently next week?
Yeah.
You know, like just anything we notice in the budget that we feel like should be talked about that week, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Or if we like know a big expense is coming up the next week or in the next few weeks, we kind of like mentally prep the other person for that.
Yeah.
It's a good starting point for our family meeting. I like doing the budget.
Yeah. You guys know I love doing the budget.
Yeah, you love doing the budget.
That's my favorite.
That's your favorite part of the week.
Yeah, honestly. And then we go over schedule just to kind of get aligned for the next week to figure out like when we're going to try and schedule time to hang out with each other, when we have other things that come up so like we can plan accordingly. I usually like to try and like if Ty has something coming up and he tells me about it in the family meeting, I'm like, okay, well that gives me a night to either do something for myself or if I want to hang out with a friend, I'm going to try to schedule the hang that night.
Yeah.
Just so that we can like maximize our time.
Yeah. Honestly, now I feel like scheduling or the schedule portion of the meeting is typically my favorite part
Yeah.
because it is like, especially with how crazy our schedules
Yeah,
are
we've
nowadays.
been really busy lately.
And
So
with
it
me-
actually has been helpful.
Yeah. And with me traveling once or twice a month,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a nice time to be like, okay, we're doing date night on this night, or you're hanging out with your friend that night. I'm going to, work on side projects or whatever. It's also good for the podcast. We set aside times to record, set aside times to edit or talk about it, or, whatever the podcast needs, which is kind of fun for me, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just really like the scheduling portion.
Yeah. And I feel like, especially these days with the job I have now, scheduling is like such a big part of what I do. And I
Same.
want to feel like just as organized in my personal life as I do at work.
Yeah.
So it just makes everything feel more fluid when I know like what to expect at work and what to expect at home. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Pro tip on that one, if you don't have a joint calendar
that's
with your
literally
spouse.
what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look at us. We didn't even talk
Cute.
about that ahead of
I
time.
know. I was literally going to say it if you didn't.
But yeah, I mean, that joint calendar, we actually have two. Like,
Which I think was kind of an accident, but we made it work in our favor.
yeah, now we kind of have it as like, these are work things that are going to exist in our personal time. And these are personal things, which is really nice for us, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, even little things like, when do you have a workout?
Mm-hmm.
I can look at the thing and know exactly when you have a workout.
Yeah. Or
Which
like,
then
when are we
tells
taking
me-
Cooper to the vet? Or
Yeah.
when is
but
your
even
doctor's
with
appointment?
that, like, I can intentionally go in and schedule a workout at the same time as yours or on the same morning, because I know I'm not going to see you very much that time anyways. Might as well put my other stuff that, like, it all just makes our life easier. So if you
Mhm.
don't have a Google Calendar or an iCal or something for you and your spouse, highly recommend.
Google Cal, please sponsor us. We didn't even use Google.
Yeah, we do. We literally use
We use an
iCal.
app. I'm dead.
Yeah, that's pretty much it on schedule, I guess.
Yeah.
Again, everything about the family meeting is a check-in. It's a, how are we doing? How did we do last week? What can we do better next
Yeah.
week?
Because even with the scheduling, like there have been weeks where we've had such a busy week. Like a few weeks ago, we had a really, really busy week. And at the end of that week, we were like, let's try not to be that busy
Yeah.
moving forward, because it just like wasn't great for us.
Yeah, it
We were just like
caused
kind of on edge
strain.
with each other and like didn't really have time to hang out. And we were just tired because we were out late every night. And so like we talked about our schedule for the upcoming week and we're like, okay, moving forward, maybe let's try to have a little bit more time at home, just doing nothing. So yeah.
It is a very, very important part of the weekly meeting. You want me to lead this one?
I'm scared.
Okay. Well,
I feel
got
like I have
something
to
for
say
this.
something at some point. Next, we talk about sex.
Nailed it. This
I'm
one's
like-
stressing Monica out.
It is.
It's a
like
weird
such
thing
a
to talk about.
Yes. Honestly, it's weird to talk about. Well, maybe it's just the type of person I am, but it's weird to talk about just the two of us.
It is.
It's very uncomfortable for me. I still haven't gotten to a point yet where that
Yeah.
feels fully comfy. And it's not because I don't feel
We've
comfortable.
been married since March. Like,
Yeah.
it's been a while that we've been talking about this, but it's
it's
just
just-
it's
it's
a
not-
weird thing to talk about.
Yeah. And it's not like I don't feel comfortable with you or like,
Right. Me
but
neither.
it's just like,
I-
I don't know. I don't think I mean, I don't feel like it was taught to me growing up that like sex is
it's not
an
like
important thing that actually should be talked about in my mind.
right.
I honestly think like this stems from childhood, like just like the way I grew up in church and stuff, where we were
Yeah.
taught to just like stay away from sex. We were always taught like it's a special thing for marriage or whatever, but like that was all I heard. So I
Right.
didn't know what that meant. And so like just the thought that like you have to talk about it and it actually is like, it's not just like a fun thing that you save for marriage. It's like, it's actually an important part of marriage. And so like,
Yeah, it's
you should
actually-
talk about it.
Something that you like do together.
Oh, stop.
But it's like, it's an important thing that if it's not in the marriage, it can cause major problems, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, you have to talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, you're leaving that open for like issue to come up later.
Yeah. And so like,
Which is not, that's way worse. Like having a blow up conversation about sex in 20 years is so much worse than us talking about it every week.
You just like fizzle out, never talk about it again, never have it again.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Oh God.
It is not the most fun.
Yeah.
I'm sure, I know like this isn't the craziest thing in the world to like talk about your sex life. And some people have a much easier time with it, but
yeah, it comes back to like how you were raised, what your relationship with it was growing
or like
up.
what the conversation around it was growing up.
Yeah, like I think I probably talked about it more as a kid or like as like growing up than you did.
Like your
with parents,
with your parents.
family. Like I had not actual brothers, but they were older than me. You know, like family, friends, and stuff that I learned and talked to, and you know, so it was a little bit more of an open conversation. Whereas I think you didn't quite have that experience, and so it's us making like figuring out how to talk about it is weird.
It still like feels, I don't know. It's just like an oddly like, I'm like fidgeting right now, even talking about it. Like it just feels like it's so weird, but I'm like, people shouldn't know that I have sex. Like why? We're literally,
right.
I feel like I was just like taught growing up, and not by any one person in particular, but I feel like I was just taught that like it's bad until you're married. But now that I'm married, I'm like, okay, well that doesn't take away the fact that I was taught it was bad all growing up. So now I'm like, it almost like I'm still like trying to unlearn that it's not like a dirty, weird thing that people can't know about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that does make it hard to have like conversations about it sometimes. And even talking about like, because part of the conversation around sex that we have is like, are we enjoying it? Is it? And it even that's kind of weird because I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to be like.
Well, and so for me, I feel like a lot of the time growing up, the conversation around sex was always with other guys, right? And a big part of that is like in Christian culture, it's like the discussion of pornography and like all of that weird stuff that goes on while you're like stay pure or save it for your wife. You know, it's like this whole thing that is always talked about in small groups and like all this stuff. But the conversation never involved women. There were never people of the female gender present for these types of conversations because it was always with other dudes. And so it could be a very serious conversation about sex, but it was only with other men. And that makes it weird now where like I was more used to talking about it pre you.
But not in the same way.
But I didn't have conversations with a woman who has a very different relationship with sex than I do, you know?
Yeah, you mean like the way that I thought of it growing up?
Yeah, the way that you thought about it, the way that you experience it, all of that is so different because we are anatomically different.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
Like everything about it is different for the two of us, and that makes it weird to talk about.
Yeah, that's fair.
Even though we're married and have been for 9 months.
Yeah.
And we've been having these conversations for, 9 months. It's weird. I don't know that it'll ever stop being weird.
I'm sure it will. When we've been married like literally 50 years, I would hope one of us could be like we're like, maybe.
I don't know if maybe.
Like maybe if you don't mind. Like different. Anyways. Yeah. We basically just talk about like where we're at with it, how we're feeling.
Yeah.
If there's any concerns, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much that. Do with that what you will. If you're just like dating and not doing that, I don't think it always has to. Like, I don't think it always has to be part of the conversation. But if you are.
I mean, I think even. Yeah, I think if you're dating and that's not something.
If that like doesn't apply to you, maybe
cool.
You could still talk about like intimacy in a way that is relevant. Not necessarily. Like the conversation itself isn't about like. It is about sex, but it's also about like.
It's about emotions.
Yeah.
It's like, are we feeling emotionally connected?
Yeah.
You're not. Maybe the answer is sex. Maybe it's something totally different. You
You
know?
just gotta try something different,
Oh no.
something wild.
Wow. But I would say, even if you are engaged and not having sex, you should probably start adding that into your conversation.
Could be a little weird if
It's
you've never
weird,
talked about it, but
I would say, like, having that conversation before that becomes something that's a part of your relationship would probably be a really good idea.
us, marriage experts.
That's just
No, but
my
I would
two
agree.
cents.
I do think don't wait until you're married to start like bringing up conversations like that, because I feel like it's just going to make it harder.
Yeah.
So
Again, the more practice you have at talking about that and being vulnerable with your significant other, the better you're going to be.
take it from us. We've been married 9 months. That leads us into the problems.
The problems. I forget what our therapist called it, but
I say we call this like an areas of improvement section.
yeah.
And this is another hard one to talk about, but
It is.
a good one, because it's a time to kind of bring up if something happened during the week, like say I did something during the week that pissed me off or hurt my feelings and I didn't feel comfortable talking about it in the moment. The family meeting is when I could bring that up again and be like, hey, when you did this thing, it made me feel like whatever.
Can we try this?
Yeah, like the way my therapist describes this is like, you're not bringing it up to like hash out things again or like to hold grudges or whatever. You're not bringing up things throughout the week to like
fight about,
rely on the past. It's to like improve for the future so that you know like what to avoid or like what to work on or what to just be mindful of. Like if Ty did something that hurt my feelings and I didn't
a lot of the
mention
time
it,
I don't know.
Right. Exactly. Like if he did something, most of the things that we bring up, it's not like one of us trying to be like malicious or anything, but there are certain things that we do just naturally as humans that hurt the other's feelings or make them feel like confused or weird or just like something didn't add up or whatever. But that's why the family meeting has that section. And like, I think what I was saying is if Ty like did something to make me mad or hurt my feelings during the week and I don't bring it up, he's more likely to do it again because he doesn't know.
For sure.
And then I'm probably more likely to keep like bottling that up because I feel like it turns into a bigger issue in my own mind, just because like I'm not bringing it up and then things are piling up and Ty doesn't know. And so it's like creating a disconnect that he doesn't even know about.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's tricky. I love that portion of the family meeting, as difficult as it is, because a lot of the time, if there's something that really gets to us or like really causes an issue, the way that we respond to it typically is like, we need a minute, we need some space, and we don't want to talk about it right then. Mm-hmm. Because emotions are high, frustrations are high, stresses are high. It doesn't make sense to like talk about why you pissed me off 10 minutes ago and it's 11:30 at night and we have to get up early. I would so much rather like take a note of like, this thing happened and think about it for a couple days, and I have time to cool off. I have time to look at this objectively and figure out kind of why I reacted the way I did, maybe have some insight of what I might have done to cause something or aggravate something, like any of that. It just gives space where I can bring it up on Sunday and it's like, hey, this weird thing happened and I don't know why it happened, or I don't know how we could have managed that different. And it just gives us a good way to like, okay, we're understanding where the other person was at. We know what the signs are for when that happens again in the future, and we know how to be ready for that in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that's another one that's hard for me because I feel like we're just raised differently in the way that conflict happens and how it's resolved. And I think for me, like, it feels very unnatural to talk about something calmly. And sometimes, like, in my mind, I'm like, it would be easier if I could just, like, yell at him over this, but it's because I've realized like anger is just masking like a deeper emotion. And so like it's more of a vulnerable thing to like actually take a situation and like sit on it for a while and then talk about it again when like you're less heated. Because it's so easy to like say things or fight about something in the moment. But when we've had this happen a few times now where like we'll start getting a little heated and then there's like almost an awkward moment of like,
we're like, what the hell is
I know,
happening?
or we're just kind of like, okay, and Ty's usually sweeter about it than I am, but we'll both end up coming to the conclusion that like we shouldn't talk about this right now because like we're going in circles and we're both just getting mad. And it's usually me getting like more and more mad. And he'll just be like,
do this thing where I want to talk about it 20 minutes later. Cause that's enough time for me to like, okay,
yeah,
I've calmed down. I've thought about this. Something was weird. Let's get this behind us right away.
Unfortunately for me, I stay mad for a little bit longer than that.
You do.
So, and again, like, I think that's just how I grew up. Like, honestly, my family, we didn't talk about things. Like, we would get in fights about things and then it would kind of just be over. And it would be like, whatever, we're not going to talk about it. Like, we would never come back to a situation later and talk about how it made us feel. We would just fight about it. We'd all probably be mad for a while and then we would just move on. And I'm not saying that's good or that I ever liked it. Like, I remember growing up being like, are we just going to ignore what just happened? But like, we would do it all the time. And so like, for me, it feels a little bit harder to like stop myself and be like, okay, I'm obviously mad right now, but that's stemming from something else. So I really should cool off and we can talk about it later. But a lot of times Ty's the one who like initiates the us cooling off because like I'm ready to just like keep arguing about something because that's just like what I'm used to. But it is helpful to have that time during our family meeting to like bring up qualms from the week or just like little things that came up that we want to address for future.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, because most of the time we don't have something big like that to talk about. That might happen like once or twice a month, if that, you know? Mm-hmm. So most of the time it's like, hey, can you not leave your shoes in the living room? Like, you know, something like small and kind of dumb, but it's like, hey, that frustrates me because of this.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And for us, we've very kind of I'm not going to say on accident, but like that section of the meeting has kind of evolved into like, here's what happened. Here are like action steps for us to do to mitigate that, to keep that from happening moving forward.
Yeah. And I think that's like the whole point of it is just to talk through that stuff. And I would say it's probably one of the most important ones.
It is.
Because like,
it's the hardest one.
Because it's the one where you really have to like communicate your needs.
Yes.
And like for me, for some reason I have a very hard time saying that something bothers me. And I don't know if that's because like I want to spare other people's feelings. Like I don't want them to feel bad or I don't want it to turn into like some real emotional thing.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm like, literally grow up and talk about your feelings. Like it's fine, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even for us, the first couple months that we were doing these, we didn't really have anything to talk about in there. Not that we didn't, but we wouldn't, you know? Like, I'm sure there was stuff going on that we could have talked about. We were also like brand new married, about to get married, you know, like all of that stuff. But I think now we've been a little bit more like, oh, I'm going to write down a little note about this, or I'm going to like try to be aware of when things bother me and why they're bothering me.
Yeah.
So, because early on we're kind of like, haha, no, it's great.
Yeah.
Everything's great.
I don't have anything.
And like, that's fine if that's genuine, but if it's not
really helping anybody.
It's not helping anything. And it honestly could be making things worse. It's easier to just talk about something, get it out of the way, move on with your life. Life's too short to be annoyed at your spouse for weeks on end.
That's true.
It's just not fun.
Leads to divorce, so I hear.
True.
We're trying to avoid that.
Yeah, we are. But after that,
after
leads
like the
to,
tough parts, I feel like you sandwich the tough parts in the middle.
Yeah, with the like kind of fun parts.
Yeah.
Because the first two are pretty fun. The middle two are kind of weird.
Depending on how you look at money, but yeah.
They're fun when you're not over budget.
Yeah.
And then the finale is like appreciations.
Gratitudes.
What did we do this week that we were really grateful for?
Yeah. And so that's just a time where you say like, I'm very grateful for the way you took care of Koopy this week.
Mm-hmm.
Or
made HelloFresh all 3 times. You know, like it can be the simplest thing, but it's like, for me, I can't tell you how many times I've used, like, I really appreciate how clean you keep our apartment.
Sometimes I feel like he says it to make me feel less bad about being a little neurotic about cleaning the house. But I appreciate it.
You just really like a clean apartment. And it's one of those things that I really appreciate, but I don't necessarily want to put in the work to make it happen. But you push me to put in the work to make it happen. So like a lot of the time it's like, thanks for forcing me to clean with you on Saturday.
I'm usually like, don't worry, you can always count on me doing that.
But like
nothing's changing there.
It's little things like that.
It's the little things.
It's the little things.
Just girly things. Yeah.
You know?
But that one's a fun one. It usually takes just like a minute to literally just say a few things and then be like, hee hee, love you.
Yep.
That's it.
And then we go do something fun. Typically, like we try to do them on like Sunday mornings. So we have something fun to do afterwards. We go and get coffee or whatever. But I don't know. Every time that we finish our family meetings, I'm left feeling significantly more connected to you and just like excited to be married.
I feel the same way.
You know,
it's just a nice reset, like you said.
Yeah.
Just a good way to start out the week or end it if that's how you want to do it. But we highly recommend a family meeting if you're dating or engaged or married, even if you've been married for a long time. Like, you can always start something. And I can imagine, I mean, we started this before we were married. I can imagine it would be tough to start when you're not used to that routine. But just know that it's kind of supposed to feel a little bit awkward. Like it's normal that it doesn't feel super easy, but it's just a practice. It's like a discipline really, because
it really
it's
is.
not always something that you want to do.
And the weeks that we don't do it are the weeks that end up being way tougher.
It's the weeks that we fight every single day, and punch each other.
I mean, it tends to be the ones where we get overscheduled afterwards. Like we end up having a ton of stuff to do on a week that we didn't have a meeting. We might end up going over budget, which is never fun.
We don't talk, so I spend $1,000.
You joke.
Out of spite. Stop.
Every time I leave town.
That is true. Yep.
Anyways, Koopy
really lets us know every time it's time to be done with the podcast.
And it's like
he runs in here
clockwork. It's like
clockwork.
An hour 15 to an hour 30.
He just starts getting a little
Right
rambunctious.
yeah.
And he's like, you guys have been talking too long. And honestly, I think we need that. We need that accountability. Anyway, we're literally halfway through the holiday season now. So hope you guys are having a great holiday season.
Yeah,
we wanted
Christmas
to take
is like a week and a half away for you. So
yeah, we wanted to take a slight break from Christmas stuff for a second, but
we might have some
fun
more
holiday episodes prepped for the rest of the year, really.
Yeah.
I feel like the end of the year goes by really, really fast. So
yes,
hopefully you guys are hanging in there, having fun, listening to the What Do You Mean podcast. And
if you want to leave us a rating or a review because you just loved this episode so much, we'd really appreciate it.
That would be a review, would be a really sweet Christmas gift. A rating,
such a good Christmas gift.
A rating would be a great stocking stuffer. So
I see what you did there, and I
feel
like it.
Feel free to give us either of those. That would be greatly appreciated. If you just want to be a
great Santa Claus this year, leave a rating and review and follow us along. so you can see if we're naughty or nice.
Oh, God.
If you really want to check it twice, you could follow us on Instagram at WDYMPod or on TikTok at WDYM Podcast.
Otherwise,
Or
you're all
on-
getting coal for Christmas.
True. Or on YouTube at WDYM Pod.
Yeah.
We're also on there now. New updates.
Come hang.
Come hang. Come say hi.
You
Let us
might
know.
see a couple snippets of Koopy if you check out YouTube this week because he's been running around this whole episode.
He's been
Look at
all
him
over
right
the
now.
place.
He's literally sitting at our feet. He's so precious. Anyway, I think that's it.
I think so too. Let's get this guy some food.
All right. I think he likes the sound of that. So
Yeah.
we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.